Step into Office Hours with California's Doctor, where health meets real talk. Hosted by the California Surgeon General, these conversations will tackle health issues that truly impact everyday life. From mental health struggles to game-changing medical innovations in public health, we will dive deep into the topics that matter most to Californians and their community. Informative, empowering, and thought-provoking. Whether a professional advocate or simply curious about improving well-being, these conversations are a trusted source for insight and guidance. Your health is the foundation for a healthier future. Let's build it together. On this episode of Office Hours with the California Surgeon General, Dr. Diana E. Ramos sits down with Dr. Kiley Hanish to discuss pregnancy and infant loss.
Welcome to hear another conversation with some key leaders in California that are helping improve the health of all Californians. Today I have Dr. Kiley Hanish, and she is a neurodivergent occupational therapist specializing in mental health during the perinatal period, which includes pregnancy, postpartum, and perinatal loss. Kiley co-created the Emmy-nominated film Return to Zero, which is based on her personal experience of her son, Norbert, who was stillborn. And the lack of care and support during her son's stillbirth led her down the path to create Return to Zero. So thank you so much, Dr. Hanish, for being here. You are addressing a topic that really is very common, more common than we like to admit, but have a hard time talking about the fact that we do have babies that are stillborn, we do have miscarriages. And I thank you so much for tackling this difficult conversation and the leadership that you have shown. So can you tell us a little bit more about Return to Zero and the work that you're doing?
Yes, well, first, Surgeon General Ramos, thank you for having me as a guest. And I just feel honored to bring my personal experience and what I'm doing in this space to help other bereaved parents just shine a light on that. Yeah, with Return to Zero Hope, we're a national nonprofit organization. I'm based in Los Angeles, and we started out providing support for parents who've experienced pregnancy and infant loss, and we really approach this just like to help educate parents on what it is that's going to happen, put language around grief and trauma, and what the experience of navigating life after this type of loss looks like. And then we also help to educate healthcare providers and community workers who may work with families who are pregnant, postpartum, because they don't receive any formal training on grief and loss. And so if we can increase their confidence and give them tools and resources and knowledge, they can better serve the families who are going through loss.
Such a great observation. Yes, sometimes we avoid those difficult conversations because we don't know how to have them. Can you describe a little bit as to the content in those trainings that you have?
Sure. I think some of it is talking about what is the lived experience of someone going through this. What are they going through physically, mentally, emotionally? What are ways to support them to make it a better experience? So I really believe that yes, it is a traumatic event and it's heartbreaking, but there are also things that people can do to make it better, and make it beautiful and memorable so that the trauma is less. So that could include like language, like what kind of language are we using to people? Are we holding space for them, or are we kind of brushing it over because we're uncomfortable? We talk about memory making in the hospital and helping parents to parent their child, even though it's not alive. But they can still go through all of those special moments with their child. They can, bathe their baby, dress their baby, hold their baby, sing to their baby. The baby can meet family members, things like that, where they're making memories. They're parenting their child in physical form for the only time that they'll be able to do that. So that's kind of in the hospital, and then afterwards, like if I'm talking to people who are only seeing patients or clients after the loss, we focus on what was the experience like for someone, and what themes are coming up for them, with grief. Like, what is grief? I don't think we as a society are really comfortable talking about grief. And so it's normalizing grief, and normalizing this specific type of loss, and like what this grief looks like, and giving ideas on ways to support these parents, and the families, extended families as well, so that they can kind of not get stuck in places of where it's more complicated grief, but they learn how to process their grief and integrate it into their lives so they can move forward. And it never leaves you. Like the death of your child, you don't forget. It is something that's always with you. So it's not like we want to forget or move on from it, but it's really kind of that integration into the life and moving forward.
Yes, you bring up some really good points. And I can tell you, as an OBGYN, when I cared for patients that had a stillbirth, it is so heartbreaking, because oftentimes if it happened later on in pregnancy, the mom felt the baby, the mom bonded with the baby. The baby was very much part of her life, and it is very difficult. And I would always encourage them to to name the baby, and to celebrate, even the day of death. I would
Yeah.
always celebrate. I would say remember every day, every year, because
Yeah.
it truly is, um, that person was truly a part of your life. And I think it's, as a mother, it is the hardest, because you felt movement, especially the further along you were in the gestational age. So thank you for the work that you are doing. And the other thing too that I would love to know is, what can we do for the partners and the family? You talked a little bit about creating memories with the other family members, but when the mom goes home and there's no baby to come home, bring home, what words, what activities can family members, can spouses, even other children that are in the house do? Any recommendations on addressing those challenges that the mom may face?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to remember that everybody's grieving in that family, right? So, um, the partner or the father, they are grieving. The If there's living children in the family, like they were expecting another baby to come home, they're grieving. The grandparents, they're grieving. So everyone's experiencing grief in their own way, and it's not going to look the same, as maybe the mom that, because she did carry the baby, and so that is different. But everyone's experienced a loss, and so what we see a lot of the time is sometimes the father or the partner, they're the ones holding everything together, um, and they're the communicator between the mom and the health providers or the other family members or friends, and so their grief can often be delayed, and it's because they're in survival mode and they're just helping out, and then their grief is delayed, but everyone is grieving this great loss. And so I think it's like people want to do something. And so I think even if we look outside of like the immediate family, like what can people do? And people don't know what to say. So I'll start with that is people get uncomfortable, they don't know what to say, and they sometimes say things that are harmful, right? So they'll say things like, well, at least you're young, or at least you can get pregnant, or at least you have other children, or God has a plan. Um, things happen for a reason. But even though like it's coming from a really good place, those things can be perceived as invalidating to the parents. And so I think things that people can say, it doesn't have to be a lot, right? It can be like, I'm so sorry for your loss. You're in my thoughts. I love you. I'm here for you. Um, and then just holding space and to ask them about their baby and ask them about, like, did you name your baby? Did you take a picture of your baby? Um, and if that feels like too much, it's just being there, not trying to fix anything, and just letting that person be in the state that they are. And then I think for doing things, helpful things can be practical things like, can you just bring groceries and drop them off at the person's front door and they don't have to talk to you because maybe they don't want to see you? Can you help with house cleaning or laundry? Can you, if they have other kids, can you take the kids out so the parents can have some focused grieving time where they can really break down that they may need that? Um, and it's just like thinking of all the little things that we do in our daily lives that can feel like too much. And can you take some of that burden off of the parents and the family? And always asking, I guess, people, it's hard to say, like, oh, let me know what you need, because I don't think that the grieving parents know what they need. And what they need is going to change. But I think offering a concrete a concrete offer of like, hey, I'd like to come get your laundry and I'll do your laundry for you. Or I'm going to go to the grocery store. What can I pick up for you? Things like that can be helpful.
Yeah, those are great suggestions, and thank you for reminding us of the phrases that we want to make sure that we avoid sometimes in our aim to really help um, the mom and the grieving family. It's hard to find the right words, and thank you for giving us that framework. It's not always easy, and one of the things that I often found in a mom who had a stillbirth was the blame and taking full responsibility and just reliving their whole pregnancy and their whole, the
Mm,
things leading up to the pregnancy, how they feel responsible for the outcome. And that is such a challenge to try and move on, because most of the times it was nothing that the mom did. There were other circumstances, other risk factors that were there that we were not aware of, could not have avoided any other way. So I don't know if there
yeah.
are any words or any suggestions that you have for, again, supporting that mom when she's feeling that way, because I oftentimes found that they did not articulate that guilt
Mm,
until we were one-on-one, and they would tell me, what did I do wrong?
yeah.
So I would love to
Yeah.
know from your experience, and what
I mean,
what can we say?
that's so hard, right? Is because it's their body and their body's, job to take care of their baby, and their job to take care of the baby. And then if the baby dies, right, I think it's really common to blame themselves. Um, and as you said, most of the time things, like there isn't a known cause in half of the cases. And so I think that, as a doctor working with someone, and you're like in, or a nurse in those moments, it's like you didn't do anything wrong. You um and just reassuring them that it, like, kind of remove giving them permission to remove some of that guilt that they may feel. But I think just knowing that, yeah, there some of the people are going to blame themselves and just saying like you didn't do anything wrong. It's not your fault, and you're a great mom. You know, you took care of your baby for X number of months, weeks. Um, you did a great job, and it does go, like you said before, back to the idea that when people become pregnant, they become a mother at that point, like a mother or a father, and they start making so many changes in their lives. Um, and sometimes, like the further along you have your nursery set up and things like that. And so when the baby dies, it's not just the death of the baby, but there's so many secondary losses, like your vision for the future and that the changes you've already made, right? Like we've moved to be closer to family. We've bought a different house. We took a different job, things like that. There's all these changes that people have made, and acknowledging that those are losses as well.
It really is hard. So thank you so much for taking on again this difficult conversation and for creating the the film, which I think very nicely addresses this difficult topic to talk about.
Yeah.
Now, I know the other thing too, when I cared for patients that had a stillbirth, is the next pregnancy, and they would uh, want to have another baby right immediately, and then some would want to wait. Any insight, any information on your experience and what you're doing in your work on that?
Yeah, I think when a person is ready to try again is going to be very individual. Um, Most people will go on to have another pregnancy, and I think it's a really really hard time. Um, so like when we become pregnant again, all of the mental health problems that may have developed from the loss that they've had, or that have kind of that loss exacerbated certain mental health problems, like those don't resolve on their own, and having another baby is not going to make them go away. um, so just being aware is like feelings of grief may resurface if they haven't processed them from the previous loss. And it can be a traumatic experience for the parent going through all the same milestones and all the doctor's appointments. And sometimes it's the same places, like the doctor's office, the hospital, all this stuff that can really remind them of their loss, and going through all those steps again and expecting a different outcome, really, because they have to live with the duality of these emotions. On one hand, they're really, really scared, um, and anxious, and that they may lose this pregnancy because it happened before, right? There's no certainty that it's going to be fine. And then on the other hand, there is a bit of hope and excitement for a new baby. I think it's important for parents and health providers to understand that when when a person is pregnant again after a loss, this new baby is not going to replace the baby who died. That the baby who died will always remain as that individual, in the parents' hearts, in the parents' minds forever. And that the new baby, if we can link that new baby as a sibling to the baby who died, it can help in the grieving process and healing in this new pregnancy.
Yeah, so when I would deliver moms who had had a stillbirth, I would notice and take care of them. I would notice there was a lot of PTSD, and we would talk through it. But then, more importantly, when the new baby was born, I could always see tears of bittersweet tears, remembering the baby that did was not born, and then celebrating the new baby, and just reminding the mom, this new baby now has a guardian angel taking care of their sibling. So just remembering the big the universe is very big, and just supporting the mom, and again, like you said, never forgetting what has happened in the past. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing the great work that you're doing. And I just want to wrap up by asking two questions that I ask of everyone. And the first is, what does health and well-being mean to you personally?
Well, health and well-being for me personally really encompasses the whole person, right? And so it's not just my physical health, but making sure my mental health is good, my spiritual health is good, and that ideally that I can do the, I can be well enough to participate in the parts of life that give me meaning, purpose, and joy. No matter what I have going on, it's like that engagement in life is important to me.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And the final is, what's one innovative idea that we can do here in California to improve our health?
Well, I would love to see mandatory perinatal bereavement training, support, and resources, in any setting for health workers or community workers who work with parents and family in the perinatal period. And really, the idea is to reduce negative mental health outcomes for people who have gone through a pregnancy or infant loss.
All right. Yes, we could all use that education and refresher. So thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Hanish, for your leadership, your dedication. My heart goes out to you. It's never easy losing a baby, having a stillbirth, and I think you really made it into a positive opportunity. So thank you. You are addressing a very difficult topic in a very positive way. Thank you for helping make
Mm-hmm.
California healthier.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Let's continue on together in health.